Hello and welcome to the Fed by Farmers podcast with me, Cammy Wilson.
And me, Iona Murray.
Today's podcast brought to you as ever in conjunction. Is conjunction the right word?
No, I wouldn't say so.
What would you say? In partnership?
No.
And today's podcast is sponsored by?
Because it's not really any of those things, is it?
What's conjunction? Is that a thing you get in your eye?
Conjunctivitis.
Yeah. Is it the same thing?
No.
Must be from the similar Greek term.
Interesting. Conjunction, conjunctivitis. Yeah, they're definitely similar derivatives.
What is a conjunction? It's where you turn left or right?
Well, no, because that's the junction.
Oh, so it is. But
Con.
again, must be from the same Greek.
What's a con? Yeah.
Oh, it's when you think it's a junction, but actually it's not.
No,
We've all done that. We've all been there, eh?
We have.
It's like, is this a giveaway? Is this?
Yeah.
No,
and
it's a conjunction. Yes.
I'm glad we got to the
Man,
bottom
you
of that,
learn so
actually.
much. So this is brought to you in conjunctivitis with Crystalyx. I'm so confused now. I forgot what we said there. With Crystalyx and Animax, thanks very much for them being on board. And someone we did say before, this is me just coming back to this, is there anything you can do with your tongue that's not inappropriate? And there was a couple of good answers. One of them was you can roll your tongue. Not inappropriate. I'm not saying that anything you do with your tongue's inappropriate. It's suggestive.
Yeah.
It has other connotations. Rolling your tongue's a pretty safe one.
Yeah.
Someone said catching snowflakes on your tongue.
Oh, that is nice.
Yeah, I know, but I just feel if I looked out my window and saw somebody wandering about.
I think in my head I pictured children immediately.
Oh, right,
Whereas
okay,
now,
yeah.
if you picture that was my reaction, but adults.
I just pictured like Martin at a still game. Like, no any snowballs. I don't want an Empire biscuit, I want a snowball. I'm just imagining Big Martin walking about the street with his tongue out. Aye, so that's, so catching snowflake and picking your teeth with your tongue is another one.
Yep.
You can do that. So there we go. Of course there's things you can do with your tongue that have no other connotations. Thanks to Crystalyx. Thanks to Animax.
Should we just get in?
Yeah, who we got this week?
We've got Raymond Kennedy.
So we do.
Auctioneer.
Raymond's a boy. I tell you one thing I didn't think about again, and we did this last week with Hetty and Beachy. I thought Raymond will be amazing for the podcast. Great character. What a laugh. And then when I was doing the edit, I suddenly realised he's a West Coast man.
Strong accent.
Fast. Speaks every bit as fast as I do, if not faster. Certainly
Well,
faster when he's selling.
He has to for his job.
He's an auctioneer. Yeah, they're meant to. He's got to be intense and working fast. But Raymond is into it, and when you're going to have to be tuned in to catch what Raymond says here. But I don't mind.
No, and we'll also say it is difficult to get the captions on. Because if it was easy, we would have that done by now.
Oh yeah, people ask for subtitles, but it's impossible. Like, you need to type an hour-long interview in subtitles.
It's hours.
It's more
and
time
hours.
than any of us have. So I apologise if you can't catch some of the things he says, but you'll get the gist of it. He loves what he does, and he's very passionate about it, and he's just a great guy. So without further ado, here's Raymond Kennedy. Here we are, Raymond Kennedy. Raymond, great to have you on the podcast. This is our first auctioneer.
Yes.
How's it feel to be number one?
Oh, gee, pressure's on now. I never realised this was number one.
Yeah.
No, this wasn't in the contract now. You're kind of going back in things now, Cammy.
the first man here to represent an auction house. And what auction house is it?
So I'm based at Stirling with United Auctions. Well, I say based at Stirling, that's the home base, but also cover Dalmally, Oban Livestock Centre. We've got Huntly. I go up there now and again just to help out in cattle sales and go out to Lochboysdale, Isla and Tyree.
You go to all those bits?
Go to all those bits. And they do have Lairg as well, which I've never been to yet because we always have a sale in Oban, but it's on the bucket list. I will get somehow to Lairg.
Yeah.
What are the sales like on the islands?
Oh, brilliant.
Are they?
It's it seems normal to me, but to everyone else that comes, it's an eye-opener because it is still such a community-based feeling. You have a sale there, the whole community's there, and everyone on the ferry, you get on the ferry, there's a sale on. We know there's, even the locals out with farming, they know what's happening. It's a lot of logistics, it's a lot of we could be a day travelling to get to Lochboysdale, and then a day to do the sales, sometimes 2 days to do the sales there, and then another day to travel back. So you have to make sure that you get all the buyers to go with you, and make sure you take the ones that's good crack. That's always good crack and plenty of money there. That kind of helps. When you're taking buyers to any sale,
my favourite kind of people.
That's the ones you want.
Absolutely. So I mean, we're jumping into the chat about the islands and stuff there, but it'd be good actually. Just I noticed with some of the interviews we do, we don't actually start with a tell us who you are.
Yeah, we bit of background.
Yeah. So like we know you, and I sometimes take that for granted, and then I don't say like who are you, but for the people that don't know you, who are you?
The lucky ones. The lucky ones. Well, so I'm Raymond Kennedy. So I've been an auctioneer. Well, I've been with United Auctions 10. This me in my 11th year. So I originally started off in Caledonian Mats at Stirling. So I'm originally from Argyll. We've just got a wee bit there at home. Dad's got a wee bit of ground, does a lot of contract gathering. That my grandpa and uncles are all farming. Wasn't enough room at home for everyone, so went away. Always wanted to be an auctioneer.
Did you?
That was one thing that was a definite given, because when I was younger, school used to know that if it's a Monday, high chance I was in the Old Paisley Market there. I'm not giving away my age there, but it was the latter days of it. I only just was mind being there every Monday there. You could be still on a Tuesday, Wednesday. Suppose go to school on the Thursday. Only usually went to school to Thursday because that was the day you got taught piping, so I made sure I never missed that.
Is he a piper as well?
I'm a piper as well.
Oh, I like it.
Piper as well. So that's my out with farming and auctioneering. Piping's my number one thing.
Yeah.
So always done that. So always wanted to be an auctioneer. Always brought up in the markets, round about the markets, and I think it was either my 7th or 8th interview and letter that I sent before I finally got a chance as a trainee auctioneer. I'd nearly given up on getting a space, because just before I left school, I remind it yet, UA took on, at that time, they took on about 4, maybe 5 trainee auctioneers at once. And I think Cali took on a few as well, and somewhere else. And I mind the Scottish Farmer just been filled, all the auction marts, all with their new trainees. And I'm thinking, oh God, that's like them taking up every space for the next 30 years. What am I going to do? So, and it was just a case of waiting, and literally it was just by chance. So I was away working up in Dalmally. I was in a boffy up there for 3 years when I left school, until I managed to get the job one fateful, lucky afternoon when I got accepted to the Cali, and I was there for 4 years. So it was strange. I started at the Cali, and we were based in Stirling, and at that time they operated Oban. And then 4 years later, I left, went to United Auctions, and I went full circle, and we're back now. United Auctions run Oban, so I'm back up in Oban where I actually originally started.
Wow. And what is the training process like for becoming an auctioneer?
So it's basically an apprenticeship. It's learning on the job. It's there is an actual course as such, but you don't go on the course until you've maybe been working with the company for 2 or 3 years
to see if it's worth
sending you.
Yeah, a lot. Okay.
So it's that way. So it's really learning on the job, and when you're learning as a youngster, you're learning all aspects, from out in the yard, in the office, usually in the office first, and that way they know, well, I can cope in the office. He's not going to get mowed down by all the store cattle out the back there. It'll be fine.
Okay,
so then you're out there, and then you'll get on the road, and it could be, and you could be 6 months, you could be a year before you actually get a shot selling. And you get
do you think a lot of youngsters come in and they expect to be selling straight away, or are they pretty
I think they're realistic.
Maybe they don't want to be selling.
No, well, I think it's that pressure point that they go in like, you don't know what to expect, because it's not a thing that you just go to college or you go to school and get taught that's what you're going to do. So it is really, you're thrown in at the deep end.
Yeah.
What was that first time like?
I was over the mill. I was actually quite fortunate. It would be maybe 3 months into it, and I got to sell the plants. plants, rose bushes. I had rose bushes up to £10 that day. I was on a high. I was going about thinking, honestly, never mind bull sales, tup sales, Dalmally. I've just had a rose bush at a tenner. Over the moon.
Love it.
And literally, plant sales used to be quite busy. It was strange. And it's literally, they would come in and the guy would come with all his plants, fill the ring, and he would say, right, these have got to make £1.50. These got to make £2. Right, no problem. You're working to the reserves. I'm like, yes, pal, I just got you £3 there for your daffodils. Look at that, man. I'm the man, am I not? So it was literally, that was great. So I got away, and I mind one of the senior auctioneers came through to we were selling them in the sheep ring at the Cali, and it was filled with all the plants, and I was selling away, and he goes, for a wee boy, for a wee guy, you kind of, good, where did that come from? And I was like, I don't know. And then it was just maybe 2 sales later up in Oban. And at that time, all the passports used to still come into the rostrum at the time, and I would sort the passports and hand them to him, just give him the ages of the cascous.
Yep.
And he just took the mic off, and there you go. And next thing I know, I was selling the last 15 or 20 cascous that were up there. And I always mind. It was one of the girls in the office, and the day I went in for my first day at the Cali, just seen her look at me and just like, who the hell is this? What's this wee guy doing in here? He's not going to do that. Back to school, you're not getting in here. What are you going to do in the box? And it was just from there that it just went. I've loved every minute of it, but it's always been something I've always wanted to do it.
Yeah.
Crystalyx Extra High Energy Feed Blocks have been providing high energy supplementation to ewes, lambs and rams in the UK since 1978. Packed full of protein, vitamins, minerals and trace elements, Crystalyx Extra High Energy has been proven to increase live lamb numbers and improve lamb daily live weight gain at a cost of only 4 to 7 pence per ewe per day. To view the full Crystalyx range and find your nearest stockist, visit crystalyx-global.com.
That's so interesting though, isn't it? With auctioneering, it is like something that you've wanted to do from such a young age.
Yeah, no, I think it was just because from a young age, I knew there was never going to be a space at home.
Yeah.
Farming, so I knew it was going to need to go and do something, but I couldn't see myself out with farming or agriculture. But I was just obsessed with at the markets there, and literally standing at the end of the road end, it's waiting in the school bus practicing to be an auctioneer as a wee boy.
Just like Cameron Barkley.
Except he's got the talent at a young age.
Yeah, in fact, he's
kind of made it already. As such, there.
I saw he did a video selling something at a charity Suffolk sale, and it's got almost 1 million views. Somehow just viral, but he's very good for a young lad.
Yeah.
Very good.
It's promising to know that I think we can all retire quite early.
Unfortunately for you guys, I think he's destined
I think he's
for Lanark.
signed up.
I think Archie's got him pegged already.
Definitely.
But no, so it interests me so much that you just had this passion and you just went for it the whole way. You do have a personality about you that I think is good for an auctioneer. You speak very loudly, very clearly, very quickly. Like all things a good auctioneer.
I think the West Coast kind of helps that bit too.
Yeah, I'm bad for that too. I've got it's a lot of comments on the podcast about speaking too fast, so I try and keep it nice and calm. But we kind of touched on, Iona, you asked about the training aspect of things. The training that you're then talking about, would this be Harper Adams?
Harper Adams. So it's a brilliant course. I'm not going to lie, it was very, very university and school like. I never went to university or anything like that apart from it. So, but I can imagine it was, you went down the first week in January, you go down and you had your lectures and they went through everything. And it's not people, I bet you everyone's listening and going, oh wait, you just practice auctioneering, practice selling away. It's not, it's all the legality sides of things, the taxation and for doing valuations, etc. And all the measurements of land, sheds, and it's all everything that's not to do with auctioneering, if that makes sense.
Yeah, okay, so really boring.
No, well, they actually made it good. And I found the best part of that whole course is because every trainee auctioneer from Britain goes to that course. in that 1 week. So you're all... And
So it's just a week long?
It's just a week long, and then you get sent, I think, if I mind right, it was maybe 4 assignments you had to write at home, and then you go back down in July for your week's exams.
Okay.
But I found it was really interesting, finding all the different ways of auctioneering throughout the country. Like, so a lot of the auctioneers from down south there, they're working maybe in smaller, family-owned or community-owned markets.
Yeah, okay.
So maybe the majority of their work was either deadweight or property sales or valuations, and they'd be saying, "Oh no, we've got a big sale of cattle to 120 stores," and we're going, "We're getting a bollocking for not being back at home because we're at a university course doing." We've got 2,000 cattle in Stirling, and they're needing us to get back and draw cattle here.
Yeah.
But it was just the difference. But they're all very fat cattle orientated in the different areas. But it was amazing just the differences, throughout the country in a small area, really, in the bigger scale of things.
You touched on it there a wee bit with the smaller auction markets and stuff. And how do you see the future going? Do you think it's going to become dominated by the bigger markets?
Is United Auctions going to take over them all?
I hope not, because honestly,
you can't do any more running about.
Can't do any more running about. I mean, literally, it's bad enough on a Thursday trying to keep the sheep coming round from you at the clipping there, Cammy. That's kind of full-time job alone. And then the rest of the week's just recuperating.
Yes,
waiting, once you lot are going.
Thursday, while we're on it, we should talk about that lamb sale, because am I right in saying that is the biggest lamb sale the biggest sale of prime lambs in the UK? Is it back and forth for a long time?
It'll be back and forth between the 2 weekly there. It will be
so
back
between
and forth.
yourselves and Longtown? Yeah, pretty close.
Should we maybe, sorry to interrupt you, but should we maybe do like just a wee overview of what that actually means, what a prime lamb sale is, and the store cattle, maybe just...
Absolutely. So like for the prime lamb sale that we're just about to discuss, prime lambs are like your finished lambs that are basically going to go on the plate. They're going to head to the butcher or the supermarket or into Europe, but essentially going to go into the food chain. They're finished, they're in prime condition, ready to go.
Yep.
As opposed to store cattle or store lambs, the store part essentially means that they're not quite finished yet, and they either go into somewhere with more grass or into a shed with some feed, or sometimes they just go straight into the food chain if just because it's a store sale doesn't mean they have to be lean lambs. It can be anything. Essentially, a store sale is like anything. Anything can go at a store sale. So for the prime sale on Thursday that we're talking about, between yourselves and Longtown, it's pretty back and forth as to who the big dog is. They would probably say them, you would probably say you guys, but it's huge. I mean, you're just over 5,000 lambs almost every week now.
Every week,
up to, what was the biggest week we did? Did we do a 9,000 week?
There would
back in April, May.
There. I think between yows and fat lambs, it was about 11,000 in the one
day.
With
the yows too, that's just the lambs.
When you think...
Selling to what, midnight?
We're rattled on. I think we were about maybe 11, after 11, but still clearing up the yard at that time of night. It's when you go home on a Thursday night and finish selling at like 7 o'clock and thinking, there's an early night, folks.
I know.
Brilliant. We've got such a normal life.
And that is one thing I was... The auctioneers get overtime? Or is it just...
Well,
just salaried.
Just salaried.
That's your job.
Just salaried. That's our job.
But do you get time in lieu, or they just look after you?
Not so much. It's really just you work what you need to work, and so basically, these big sales. Once you get into the busy season, it's absolutely full on. It's absolutely silly hours.
And you're on your feet for so much of it.
And you're going between each market too. Yep. Just finishing one sale into the next. But when you've got quieter times there, you'll get away and a late afternoon if the boss is listening there, kind of about maybe 4:45 or that, or 4:45, no earlier, nothing like that, and then away. But a lot of the time it's fair that way. But you're always on the job even when you're not on the job. It'd be like see yourself going round the shows. You're meeting customers or getting new contacts. So it is. You're always
networking.
Always networking.
It's not just your time in the box.
No, that's it. To be honest, auctioneering itself, actually selling in the box, is probably only 5% of my job.
Yeah,
I'd say 5% of my time it'll be that. Another 95% is either on the road, chasing sheep and cattle around at sale days, sorting sheep and cattle on sale days, or actually out in the road canvassing. Because at the end of the day, people don't deal with you if they don't know you. And the only way they're going to know you if you're out in the road canvassing them there, get to know them, visiting them there, and just trying to get the business.
Yeah, and that's a good point, actually. You know, if people don't know you, they won't want to work with you, or they'll just be like, don't come up my drive. Whereas, and do you think some of the things you do out with, like, for example, the commentating at the sheep shearing, do you think things like that help with get people getting to know you, and you actually enjoy it? Or
I do actually enjoy it. There is say it, and I say that was just accidental ending up into the commentary for that. They're doing a few speed shears for Doogie, and next thing Di's like, right, well, if you're doing it for Doogie, you're doing it for me. Yeah. Like, oh God, next thing is all over, and even down south and everywhere when Hugh got, he's like, you come down as well? I was like, what?
Yeah.
You know, and I never ever imagined doing anything like that. But one of my roles in UA is I do all the pedigree sales there.
Yes.
So rather than
pedigree cattle and sheep.
Mainly just cattle there.
But you do the blackies.
Do the blackies, yes.
We'll come on to that.
Definitely do the blackies.
Yeah, we'll come on to Dalmally in a minute. But so
do the pedigrees. And so whereas most auctioneers, they have an area. They'll say, right, we'll canvass Ayrshire, we'll canvass Dumfries, we'll canvass. And they'll stick to that area. Whereas because for the likes of the bull sales and the pedigree side, my clients are right through Britain.
Yeah.
You know what? I've done dispersals over in Ballymena, down south, been right down into Norfolk, Cheshire, up to Aberdeenshire. I mean, even like say today, I've been across the border, been back up Ayrshire. You know, it's literally, I could be anywhere. Wake up in the morning, they're like, where the hell are you today, Raymond? I'm like, don't worry, I'm working. That's all you need to know.
Yes.
That was going to be one of my questions is, and it's sort of been magnified by, I didn't realise just how far you travelled, but I know like auctioneers take great pride in knowing the buyers on the ring side. How do you do that? I mean, as somebody who's terrible with names and faces.
That's a hard one to say. I know one trick that I always got told there was, see if you can associate someone with somewhere. Or you've got a buyer and literally see the last few bids, even while I'm selling something, especially like to the top sales or the bull sales, you're only seeing these folk once a year quite often. They don't, because they're coming from such a wide area.
Yep.
But if you can remember, oh, right, that man, Charlie breeder, oh no, that man, Caithness, and that, if you can chap it down to even just the wider area, straight away they're like, oh wait, he knows who I am. And that's bought you another 10, 15 seconds to, right, I know he's in Caithness, but what's his name? And then you get it from there. But also at the bull sales and top sales, you'll see a lot of times they're like, look at the amount of auctioneers or white coats going about today. But we all cover different areas and we know different people. So if they're able in front of you and they're like, oh, that's such and such bidding there from here, so that's such and such. And they've relayed it to you. And it makes the bidders, you know, they're like, oh, wait a minute, we're appreciated. They know there's someone in the company knows who we are. We're not just a passing customer. Yeah. We're actually known.
And especially with pedigree stock, and, you know, I don't know anything about cattle, but if we talk about the blackies, there's a big dent to the pride if they buy it up and you don't know who they are. You know what I mean? Like, folk like to hear, he knows me. That's it.
Yeah.
You know,
that's it there. You know, and it is, as you say, because you are only seeing them once a year. You know,
that's a lot of pressure.
I feel horrible if I forget someone's name, but even worse when the whole ring's like, who bought that one?
Well, that's it, because it's bad enough even before the sale out the back when they're coming up to you, how are you getting on, Raymond? Or even out and about, Raymond, how are you getting on? And as soon as you go, it's yourself, how's things? That's straight away a clue that I have no idea, I'm sorry who you are. But I know I should know you, I just don't know how. Yeah. But it's the other people that just come up and say that, and then afterwards they're like, you don't know who I am, do you? And I'm standing there, nope. They're like, it's okay, I've not actually met you. It's like, thanks for that.
Well, and it's different if you meet them on the farm and you can associate the farm with them, and then all of a sudden they're in their best gear and they're at the market in a different environment, all, you know, well dressed usually, they've got their gilet on or their shuffle or whatever, and you're like,
that's it. And that's how it is important to get out on the road canvassing and meeting people and seeing them in their home environment, and then you get to know their families and next generations coming on, and then you've got more of an association every time.
Yep.
Then you do know the customers then.
Yeah.
And see at the sort of pedigree sales, how do you know where to judge it, with where you're starting the bidding with? Do you listen to the rumours before?
Well, it's like a lot of time it's down to your own judgment.
Okay.
That you know straight away that something's coming in. You know, like for example, the Blackie job there, Dalmally there, Stirling, but Dalmally in particular, you can feel the buzz. It's normally 3 lots, between 2 and 3 lots before the actual one, because it is such a small area.
They start sitting on the cattle on the
sitting
weigh
on
scales.
top of the weigh bridge there, and as soon as they're sitting up there, George Purvis said to me, Raymond, get them down from there. I'm busy selling. Get you somebody else, get them down. And they're all up there, and you're like, and I've seen, mate, there was, I think it would be 3 years ago, and it wasn't even in the weighbridge. It's common to take bids from the weighbridge there, and all you see is a hand.
Yeah.
I mean, literally, it was last year, the 78,000 Dalhurla. All I could see was a hand, and it wasn't till the last bid. I was like, "Oh, it's yourself." But what other industry would you have such a level of trust? Could you imagine going into an art auction or anything like that?
No numbers.
No numbers, nothing,
just,
and just someone, all they seen as a wee hand rate. They would never take it as a bid.
Yeah.
But it's the honour system there within farming, the agricultural community.
Yeah.
But I mean, it was year before COVID, and it was literally, it would be back in the drawing pen at Dalmally, the bigger pen before it goes narrower there into the weighbridge. So they're all the way back there, and it was just, all I seen was the stick going up, and it was the stick was bidding all the way back there, and it's the whole time. I was like, look, it's definitely a bid, just don't keep going.
That takes a lot. That's brave.
But
some poor guy's just trying to clear something off the top of the weighbridge. They're just like, what the hell is that?
It's unbelievable. But that, when they always say, what's your favourite sale? What's your favourite? And because it's my local market, but Dalmally Tup sale, there's nothing touches it at all. You know, any sale when it's going well is amazing, but that's just got a personal, soft spot for it. You know, where, like, say, bull sales, everyone laughs at me at this word, like, you'll say it for bull sales. It's like, you've no slept this week, have you? And I was like, nope, going about, still going about the market. I mean, Dalmally, I'll even do the car parking in the morning. It's just for the crack that way. I was like, I'll go up. I put all the signs up with Jags and that. We've got our team, 3 or 4 of us go up and get everything sorted. And they're like, it's 10 to 9. You're going in to get it. Just another few rows of cars, and then once we get that bottom alley, everyone off the road, Tup's unloaded. I'll go and sell. You're starting the sale. That's fine.
Aye. I love it. And for anyone who doesn't know, Dalmally, of course, Dalmally is the place, but it's also the name of the market that United Auction have, and it's in under Argyll.
Under Argyll, yep.
And Argyll being very famous Blackie country. And a lot of very traditional type Blackies come through there, as well as your perhaps fancier types, if we call them that.
That's it. And it's one of the few markets anywhere now that's kept our draft house sale in September. Well, we have to borrow all the gates from basically every show in the country to come up. And
so they're all outside the draft house?
We have enough room in the market there usually for the gimmers and maybe quarters of the ewes, and then all the car park is just pens built up. When you see the photos of it,
I'll need to come up to that.
We should put the photos up on the
YouTube
we'll
get them
video.
on for the YouTube. We'll
and
put photos
it's the same again for the Blackie Weather Lamb sale. Both these sales will be still kind of between 8,000 and 9,000 there in a market that holds usually about 4, 5. It's just it's a different world.
That is one nice thing about Dalmally. Although having been to Dalmally 2 or 3 times, I still think I prefer Lairg. I like that's going to upset some people, but I just
I've never been. So
it's just a shed. It's just like a
shed.
ring, and it's just like a shed over the ring, and then everything's outside, and it's all old wooden pens,
Nice.
and it's nice.
Mm-hmm.
And there's nowhere to park. Like the roads, it's just you're at the road, and then there's the market at the side of the road. Like it's so unreasonable for the amount of sheep that I know they don't do as many sales now,
Yep.
and the numbers are certainly down a fair bit. But it's just one of those things that like it's amazing it still goes. And
Yeah.
I suppose there is that worry that it's coming backwards all the time, unfortunately, rather than going forwards. It seems to be the numbers lessening
with the areas
quite a
here.
lot, yeah. And you know, dare I say it, don't want to cause too much controversy on here. I think the guys at Dingwall are doing really well at growing their side of things up there too, so it's getting bigger and bigger all the time. So a lot of competition. Lockerbie's huge with the Cheviots now as well.
And that's a thing actually in general.
Always was, I should say. It's always been big. But
always,
yeah.
no favouritism anywhere here.
No.
You know, very impartial.
Yeah.
But the whole auction system, compared to if you look back in the 50s, 60s, everyone had their set markets. They went to their local markets. There was no competition. You just went to your market and that was it.
Yeah.
Whereas now, because there's fewer markets, it's like any industry. You know, everyone's chasing the same work. They're chasing the same stock to sell.
Yes.
You know, when you think of it that way.
I suppose there is fewer markets. So, like for me, like I'm kind of like a market. Like I'm not that fussed. I go what's handiest.
Go what's
You know,
handiest.
so like-
What's fitting in with you on that day, that week.
Like most of my fat lambs will go to air because it's 15 minutes down the road, and it's good to support local too.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of that. But it's
That's
15
it.
minutes down the road, and it's just so handy. Plus, I can come
Yep.
back and see them sold if I have time. You
That's
know,
it.
Is there much difference in prices between markets, or are they all pretty much?
I don't think there's much different in prices. Although
What?
we can't get into it here, but there's definitely a difference in weights. This is the question I've always wanted to put somebody on the spot on.
Good luck,
And
Raymond.
Right, sorry, there's my phone.
Yeah, this is going to cause upset, I think. But why when so you bring your lambs in, they get weighed, okay?
Yep.
Why is the reading from the scales hidden in a wee box?
Oh, you can go in and see the wee boxes. See, if you stand at the scale, you can see it quite easily.
Yeah, but why is it in a wee box? Why is there not a scale, a thing that everyone can see?
On outside. That's actually, that's a valid point.
Why is it away like in a wee? Why is it in a box at all?
Well, I think it's just purely because it's normally you have an older member of staff or
It's warmer.
It's warmer. They can sit in the wee hut because if you're not moving in there, it's one of the coldest jobs you'll do is ever just sit weighing all day, just
One possession.
in one position.
I totally accept that answer. But I do wonder why.
And
I'd love. Please let me know if I'm wrong.
Yep.
But I have never seen a market that has the reading.
No, I don't
Whereas
think
with
there is.
cattle, you get to see the weight. Am I right in saying you can see it on the
Well, you press the button and it's relayed from the computer up
to the screen?
to the
Yeah.
screen, but it's just automatically
As they go into the ring.
as you go into the ring there.
But yeah, with the sheep, it's just that somebody writes it in a bit of paper and gives you it.
Yep.
Yeah, and I always wonder why is it not? Because farms are clever; they can work out the total weight. You know, you
Well,
just put the
that's
total
it.
weight up.
Aye.
If they know there's 20 sheep there, they know
Yep.
to divide it by 20.
Well, that's the thing there.
But for some reason, it's always in that wee box. I would love to see a market lead from the front.
Yep.
And have that out there. So there's a challenge
it.
to first market to do it. Give me a shout. We'll mention you on here. But
it.
yeah, so we'll not talk too much about that. But in terms of, you know, you say Dalmally's your thing, but mostly cattle you're selling.
A lot of the time, it's the pedigree cattle in Stirling I'll sell.
And you talk about the bull sales.
Bull sales.
Stirling bull sales will be the biggest bull sales in the UK.
Yes.
Yeah, both of them. They do.
Well, it's the biggest amalgamated bull sales there because we're one of the few that still do them all at the same weeks. You know, a lot of other
go by
markets,
breed.
you know, they'll go by breed. So one weekend's, you know, they're limousines, ones are simmentals, they're different. Whereas we've still got the amalgamated. Let's say between this weekend coming and a fortnight's time, with over 840 bulls and females to go through just at once. You know,
some handling, like
it is, and it's because of the pedigree side of it. It's all the preparation in the background there, getting the catalogues, proofreading catalogues, footnotes, pedigrees, everything there. It's a real buzz. It is a real buzz, that side of things. But then once it comes into, I could be selling the bull sales, and then the following day up to Oban to sell cast ups.
Yeah.
You know, it's
You get the variety.
that's one thing in this job. The variety is unbelievable. Some of the sales.
What's been the biggest buzz you've got from selling? Is there one that sticks out?
There's been one or two sales that stick out. Probably the Blaylax sale. That was a sale that was unbelievable.
Why was that?
It was just the whole Angus world was there. It wasn't even just the whole Angus world. It was amalgamated with the bull sales.
It was like a moment of history type thing.
The crowd was unbelievable. I mean, the trade was phenomenal there. The cattle were phenomenal. It was one of the biggest names to disperse there. You know, always mind it was one that was really, literally, it was about halfway through the sale, and one of the other auctioneers, when you're coming out, Raymond, you're just going to keep going. I was like, why not? Why not?
Adrenaline's going.
I might literally. I mean, I was glad that the way the cameras were all angled that way, because I was just a pool of sweat. I was disgusted. I'm like, someone get me a new shirt there for the next half of the sale, please. It was, but the whole atmosphere, you know, it was just unbelievable. But another sale, we had the Shadwell sale down at Skipton. That was strange doing it in another market, but again, unbelievable. But we had a dispersal of Highland cattle come up from the Isle of Wight, the Mottiston fold, one of the top folds of Highlanders. And I mind speaking to the haulier. I says, would you be able to get me 4 deckers to go down to the Isle of Wight and pick up Highlanders for me and bring them back up? And he just looked at me. He said, what? No. I was like, I says, get me a price. And he came back. You sure these Highlanders are going to come to what the haulage will be? I was like, don't you panic. I was like, these aren't just Highlanders, these are unbelievable. And that sale, I mean, those dealers came in as well. Everyone was in thinking, never before has there been as many Highlanders sold in a day. There's going to be chancy ones of that.
A bargain.
The older cows.
Yeah, they think it's a bargain.
Well, the first cow, the oldest cow in the sale came in around, and she kicked the sale off at 8,000, and I just seen them up. Literally, the dealers walked out and came back in with fish suppers about half an hour later.
What's the point?
It was unbelievable, but that was 3 sales that really just stuck out.
Yeah, and well, obviously, what is the haulage? Do you remember what the haulage was? It must have been crazy.
Oh, it was unbelievable. Well, saying that, it was crazy, but I mind
in context of how much they're selling.
The first two cattle in the ring had paid for them. First 2 cattle had paid for it.
Yeah.
But it was unbelievable. They were expecting, thinking, oh God, this will never recover it. They were thinking, just Highlanders.
The hauliers
they're out the hill there. You know, it's going to be a couple of $100 sort of job.
The hauliers wishing
cash cows going through at the time rather than.
He's thinking didn't charge enough after the sort of prices. And like, I feel, and he's obviously worked hard and it is a hard job, but like the last couple of years, it must have been a great time to be an auctioneer.
Well, probably as an auctioneer, it's been great to sell because you've actually got buyers wanting to buy. I mean, there was years there, not that long ago, some back ends where after a tough spring and folk maybe not getting out to store lambs, and then you're away to sell a sale of 6,000-7,000 store lambs, and everyone's going, I'm not really fussed, I've no grass yet, I'm no what, and you're just scratching your head going, please, someone, come on. Because at the end of the day, people that's buying the stock there, they can choose to buy them or not. The producer can't. They've not got that luxury.
They can't take them home.
They can't just say, you know what, I don't fancy lamb and ewes this year. We'll just do it. Whereas the store buyers, that they can say, oh no, we'll maybe just not buy store lambs, maybe not buy store cattle. But the producers, they're in the cycle. So if the trade's back, they can't do anything about it.
Almost like dairy farmers, like even if they're making a loss, they have to still
milk the cows. Whereas they can't just say, oh no, we'll wait till the price goes up. They've still got to milk them.
They've got to go out every day, even if they're doing it if they're losing money.
So that's how it's so great to see now that very rarely have we seen sheep and cattle at the one time.
Yeah, cattle have been slower catching up, but the sheep job's been tremendous the last 2 or 3 years.
Most foragers don't supply sheep and cattle with enough cobalt, copper, iodine and selenium, critical to digestion, immunity, reproduction and growth. When it comes to supplementation, there's a danger of under or oversupply, but when bolusing with Animax Tracesure, you can be sure Every animal has enough for up to 6 months in one single application. Animax. Giving what it takes.
Is there ever concerns about like the likes of abattoirs cutting out the middleman and going straight to the farmers?
They must be taking a good dent into it.
They are always trying, but you always find they set the trade with the prime product, the ideal luxury product there, your 44 kilos for the export job, etc. there, and then, but it's always the market that sets the trade. But of course they'll set the trade with your heavies or your lights, etc. there. But there is always, you find lights of the now, I would say there's more folk going through the live ring because the trade's booming and there's a competition and all the abattoirs are coming to the market too because numbers there, you know, it is. But you see, they're almost for two different jobs. You know, there's always going to be a place for, you know, for all the parts of the system, but no matter what, you're always better to have a full ringside of folk bidding for your stock than one person giving you a price.
Yeah, although some would argue that you know the price before you sell.
Well, that's it. You always know.
That's why people like it. You know, with your abattoirs, they're saying right, it's £6 a kilo.
That's it.
This week, so you can either take it or not.
Well, that's it.
And wait. Whereas you go to the ring,
go to the ring,
you can take them home. No, you're not. You're not going to take them home.
And see, you go to the ring, you can take anything from that field. You know, they can get drawn in accordingly there. Whereas you've got all the specs you've got to hit if you want to get that £6. You know, see, so that's always an added bonus of the livestock auctions there.
Are any livestock going through the market going abroad? Like, are there, or is that done differently?
So they're not going direct from. They'll go via their routes down south. So it's not going live as such.
Right. Okay.
You know, the only live ones is like so your pedigrees, etc., or you know, a lot of your blackie job, etc. But for actually going abroad, everything else is really via the abattoirs that's buying them in the markets here.
Okay.
You know, it's all done that way.
And so, like your abattoirs and stuff, how much of the lambs that are bought, right, say Stirling has 5,000 lambs in, how many of them are going to Europe? You know, what is the export like? What percentage actually stays in the UK?
I'm not going to lie, I would actually be only guessing if that's something I would need to...
See if you guess with confidence.
Guess with
fact.
confidence. And in that case, do you know what, folks? I can tell you exactly. Out of that 5,000, there's roughly, I think last week was a slow week, there's only 2,169 of them. But that's
less than I thought. That's quite interesting.
But you see, it's a slow week. Ferries were off. The wind. Yep, job scuppered.
And don't talk about ferries. I got nearly stuck in Arran last week. It's a nightmare. No, the export thing, and we spoke about this previously in the podcast. There was a thing recently, bit of a social media thing about no British lamb in supermarkets in New Zealand lamb. But I made the point that, and I don't quite get why it's this way, but like in New Zealand they're getting £70 a head for finished lamb, prime lamb, whereas here we're at £140 a head. You know, we're getting double the money here. So my argument was, does it matter? Like, does it matter if it's not in supermarkets? And could you argue the angle that actually British lamb is such a premium product that the supermarkets actually can't afford to stock it? And I went down the angle of, you don't see Wagyu beef, proper Wagyu beef in Tesco's. You don't see like real caught bluefin tuna in Tesco's. And you don't see Scottish lamb.
No, I did hear you say that, and
they're all such premium products.
Never ever thought of it in that way before.
Yeah,
but as you say,
okay,
the main thing is we're getting it.
Well, because
it'd be different if we weren't getting it there. There's obviously a market for Scotch lamb, and if it turns out that the market for Scotch lamb is by somewhere else buying the Scotch lamb, you know, the main thing, we have to get the trade, but the main thing is always having an outlet. That's the biggest thing.
But off the back of that, everybody was saying, you know, if not in the supermarkets, you know, why do we pay our levies to QMS and etc. etc. It's like QMS must, or in is it AHDB?
Yep.
Like they must be doing something right because lamb trade's really strong here compared to other parts of the world.
But then, but surely my issue wouldn't be exporting the lamb. My issue would be going into the supermarket and there being imported lamb there, and no Scottish
see for the argument of food being, if we talk about food miles and this idea, we're trying to global warming and the miles and stuff like that food travels is a big factor. I absolutely get that, but if we are getting such a good out, I would be more upset if we were getting £60 a head for our lambs and the supermarkets were choosing New Zealand at the same price. I'd be upset. But how can you really fault the supermarket when New Zealand lamb can be bought for £60 a head prime? Obviously, they can get it over here cheaper.
But that's the root of the issue. Why is that the case? I'm not saying it's the supermarkets that are to blame, but why is that the case? That the lamb's so much cheaper.
How is it possible to produce it to be able to produce
by the sounds
and
of things,
export
yeah,
it?
by the sounds of things,
that's always been the big question is how can they do it for that?
Well, I don't think they can. I think I think what's happened is it's to do with Australia getting rid of a mass number of cast Jews or something. I read an article about it. So Australia's flooded the market.
Right.
And that's crushing the New Zealand trade. Whereas the last 2 years have been really good in New Zealand, probably similar to us.
Yeah.
And I just wonder if, part of the thing is that we actually just have better markets than they do.
In what way?
In that, like, let's say a lot of our lamb, now, I don't know about this, and we're going to get someone who does know from QMS or somebody in to talk about this, but let's say we have great deals with France, and in a lot of we're very fortunate that we're very close to a lot of countries that have a large Muslim population. So let's say we have a great deal with France, but New Zealand can't get that deal with France, but they've got a deal with us. So we're obviously getting the better end. We're better to send it to France because the consumer there will pay a fortune for British lamb. But it's not the case that they can't. We say, well, why do they not just get New Zealand lamb? It's all to do with trade deals and all this kind of stuff. Like New Zealand probably has that old Commonwealth link to the UK. It's probably, I don't know about all the trade deals, but it's probably a case of France can't buy the lamb from New Zealand. Because they don't have that trade in place.
Deal to
whereas we have the deal with New Zealand, so we can get it over here without import duties or whatever. So I'm guessing that's why we've whoever's negotiating the deals have got something great that we can get into Europe, despite Brexit. Which was a big worry. You remember that first sale after was it? Oh no, maybe that was COVID. What was the first sale? Everybody turned up with the lambs and it got cancelled. Was that COVID?
That was COVID.
That was COVID, wasn't it? But I think that was on Monday because I'm sure that was Lanark and Ayr. Folk were turning up with it. Nobody knew it was happening.
No one knew. That was it. The whole thing.
Everybody's turned up with the lambs and we thought the sale was going to happen, and then so that was a whole other thing. But even the COVID was a big panic. Remember the fear? It's like, it's going to totally crash, and then the next week they were a fortune.
That's it.
It was crazy. Everybody thought this is it. We're screwed. And then for all of a sudden next week they're booming.
But COVID was actually such a positive for farming and agriculture. People that hope they had time to cook. They had time, and they had time to. They wanted to support local at that time.
They were all going to the butchers.
It was an excuse to go to the butcher. It was a novelty to them. It was an excuse to get out and about, go to a farm shop, get the quality there, and people realised they actually did have time to cook. The amount of folk that always it's such an easy go home after a long day work, and you just think, I've no time to cook there, so all right, we'll just fling that in the microwave, fling this. Whereas actually, doesn't take that long to cook, and it's not that expensive to cook if you're cooking a proper meal, really. Because you get so much out it.
And it was great. The butchers did get a good lift. That's right. So I remember that, and it's one of those things. If you're going to follow a nice recipe and make a nice meal, you want the best product. So they would go and buy their Scottish lamb or their British lamb, I should say, English lamb and Welsh lamb, all fantastic products. And I'd argue New Zealand lamb, fantastic product as well. Like, I'm not, like, a lot of people bash New Zealand lamb as if it's like from some, like feedlot in America. There's that argument about the beef thing and hormones and stuff. The only thing that I find interesting is we have this product here, right? This is a thing I was talking about the other day called Smart Shot. And it's a cobalt injection, a B12 injection. And it's this really interesting product that the oil from the injection goes into the liver and sits there for like 6 months. God knows how the science works. But anyway, in New Zealand, they have one that has selenium in it as well. But you can't use that here because it's dangerous to go into the food chain. But it's okay for us to import New Zealand lamb.
That's mad.
That's one that winds me up. And there's loads of it. See, throughout the whole food thing, there's loads of examples. Like, there's things that they can put in, you know, they can do in South American beef and whatnot that we couldn't do here, but it's no bother to import it.
Yep.
You know, and that's the one I think is crazy. We can't
Yep.
use this product because selenium can be harmful. I actually don't think I think there's studies to suggest that actually selenium's fine. I should say, so don't panic about your New Zealand lamb. But my point is more that we can't use that product on our lambs here, but we can buy in meat that's allowed to use these products.
Well, it's the same with buying, like, obviously all UK British farmers, we have to meet such strict standards in terms of animal welfare and the regulations, but then we're allowed to import, which obviously then increases the price of our product, but then we can import the meat from other countries where their welfare is terrible.
They don't need to meet them requirements.
Your value packed, and this will definitely get somebody like QMS or someone in to chat, and actually somebody for a supermarket would be great as well. But this, you go in and look at like your value packed chicken breast that's all cut. It's from Thailand. Now, well, you've been there. You should have went and had a look. Listen, and sometimes I think we get the wrong idea about other countries.
Yeah, that's true.
It could very well be that the farms in Thailand are incredible. So I'd never like to speculate. But in my head, I'm thinking they cannot have a strict
quality control.
No. Now, maybe they do. I feel you should never say they don't when you've not been there yourself. But like, surely not. But it's okay for us to buy that in.
That's what I mean.
But a UK farmer couldn't do it.
And that's the kind of thing. A lot of my previous work had a lot of education, and it was trying to get these points across, like this very thing, and it doesn't make sense.
Yeah, but then it's like food has to be affordable as well.
Which was again another argument.
Well, that's
like
one
the products we produce here, British beef. I need to keep remember this is British beef. I'm biased. Scottish beef, British beef, British lamb are premium products. They're expensive.
Yep.
Folk can't afford to buy them. Like Joe blogs on the person struggling to make ends meet with interest rates and their mortgage going up and cost of living crisis.
Yep. No, it's every penny.
British lamb's the first thing you drop because it's a fortune. British beef probably is, apart from maybe your mince and stuff. Like it's expensive.
But then again, a point I would make would be cutting down on meat consumption. It's whether you take quality over the quantity. So you see, do we go back to what it used to be like, that the value that was held in having chicken or lamb was so much higher, but people didn't eat it every single day, and they utilised every single part because it held so much more value.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Things have changed. We just want certain cuts and certain things. Yeah. No, it's interesting. Yeah. But we get back in. We'll save this for QMS.
Back to you. I want to hear more about the piping, the musician.
Oh, we should explain what piping is, because a lot of folk won't know what you mean by piping.
All right. So, playing the bagpipes, being a proper stereotypical Scot, going about in my kilt there with no selling Highland cows. I just wear the kilt, play the pipes now and again.
Can you rattle out a good pibroch?
Pibroch's a lot. Got it all there. So no, it's always been a piper since primary 4, and it's been a thing that's taken me all around the world. I've been
in a pipe band.
In a pipe band. Yeah. So used to play with Inveraray District there. And then now play with Glasgow Sky, played with Johnson for a year or so there as well. So, no, it's taken me everywhere. It's great being able to... The pipes normally make an appearance at the likes of the Highland Show or the Yorkshire down the cattle lines there. There's been some instances in the past year with some stories with that. One good one was one of my first or second year maybe with UA. I was at the Highland Show. Because the boss, you'll be quiet there, you'll be kind of behaving yourselves there at night. Always, no problem at all. You said, no, definitely. Next morning, I thought everything else, cattle lines had been absolutely chaos there. Great crack. And I'd been down in the cattle lines, and a good pal of mine, Tam McMillan from Butte, he was down, and he had a broken ankle at the time it was. And Tam had a mobility scooter. So, of course, it was just too good to miss out on. So we thought, well, if I'm piping at this end of the Highland Cattle Hall, there's people up there that's really missing out on the music there. So, Tam, can I get a lift, please? And next thing, whole video went viral.
Is that right? You and the
I was-
mobility scooter.
Scottish farmer, everyone had it shared. Me and the mobility scooter piping, and he's flying up the
That
cattle
will
hall there.
definitely be on the YouTube
Yeah,
version of this
100%.
podcast.
Next morning, woke up and I was in the caravan. Oh, get up to the stand there, all sensible, prim and proper, and the boss, quiet night. Aye, of course. And then the one person that actually landed me in it, David Leggett, comes over. Raymond, have you seen the video here? 78,000 views for it already. And, it's like, and what's this? I said, no. All showing it. I was like, oh, thanks for that. Of all people to land me in it.
But we'll definitely dig that out. That sounds like
Definitely.
a belter. And one thing I want to know is, and I've always been interested, being in the police, there's like a rank structure, and as you work up the ranks, you work up the pay grades, and you move towards, you know, the next promotion type thing. Is there promotions within auctioneering?
There is.
And how is your pay decided? Is your pay, so say in the police, your pay goes up every year for the first 11 years. Do you get paid more as you get more experienced, or how is it, like, how does it all work?
I'll need to actually speak to the bosses because I'm still in work experience.
You're still on the boys' wage. You're nearly there.
Nearly there.
One more go at Dalmally.
One more, we'll discuss that there. So, no, well, it does start off with, you've got your younger auctioneers there, and you move up, like, say, for example, once you've been selling, usually you start off selling bits and pieces at implement sales, like that. Then quite often a natural progression is selling the cast ewes. You know, on a Thursday night of that there, you then sell them, and then eventually you'll get onto maybe store sheep, or if you're on the cattle side, you'll get onto cast cows, or then onto store cattle. You know, but it is a long progression because it's a job that's got longevity. You know, there's a lot of auctioneers that they're still going up into their 60s here. So, of course, they're too fit, too fresh to fully let the young ones come into their space.
Yeah.
But it's actually, I would say they've got a really good system there, that there is so many, because we've got the different markets there, United Auctions here, and there's a lot of other markets are the same too. There are ones that's very good at letting their youngsters come on and giving them the opportunities there to get on selling more and getting into, you know, when you look at some of our sales here and you're looking in, the ones that aren't that old aren't selling as much. They're already kind of cutting back to let the next ones come on, because you can't just, historically, auctioneering would be very guilty of, until you were absolutely croaking it in the box there, right, we'll let a youngster in now.
It's the same as sheep scanning, actually.
Deep end.
It's the same as sheep scanning.
Aye.
It's like the good jobs.
You're not getting them.
Shearing's easy to get work because, well, one shearer can only do 300, 400 a day, and you can only really do it till you're about 30, 40. At most, 40 is a real push for many, including myself. So there's always work like coming down. Whereas sheep scanning, you're just sitting there doing that. So boys will do it to their 70.
That's it.
No bother.
Yep.
And of course, when they do ease back, they don't ease back on the 2,000 hill ewes,
No,
scanning at 100%. They ease back on the wee 100 lots and the 200 lots.
But nice wee dandy day, they are just kind of set up there
to try and get into scanning. And there's more and more boys now buying scanners and try to get into it. It's like you say with auctioneer. And that was always my worry, not my worry, but looking at it from the outside in, especially smaller markets, I just don't see how they can bring young
to be
auctioneers
able to
on,
have,
because if you've got your guys that do the sales, if a boy's or girl is coming in hungry to get on and be an auctioneer and get selling,
they've got to get an opportunity.
if they're not getting an opportunity, why they'll see United Auction. And listen, we all know United Auctions picks up a lot of them from other markets. There's no doubt about it, and so did other big markets.
That's it.
You know,
it is
other markets around the country, and that is the problem with the small market. Is keeping the youngsters
trying to get that opportunities for them. It is.
And if they don't do that, UA will just swallow them up. So
That's it. More competition, I'll be out of job.
No, it's and sorry, you were saying that. I do want to get to the point though. Actually, you're saying that you work your way up, you then get the nod, and that's you now an auctioneer, fully fledged. Once you're on that pay, does it go up by experience? Like I always thought, does it go up each year? But obviously it goes up with inflation type thing. But does it go up? Like, is it an incremental thing based on experience? Like, for example, are you on the same wage as a fellow auctioneer doing a similar job, or is there things that vary it?
there will be things that vary it, but it's one thing actually.
Is there any commission?
No commission.
No, I don't think so. No,
That's the one thing. Let's say I've got friends out with farming.
You're just a salary.
I'm just a salary, and
Yeah.
they're like, "Wait, you don't get commission?" I was like, "No." They're like, "You seen what the company is like? The amount of stock that's been sold?" I was like, "No, it's just a salary there." And they're like, "You seen the hours you do?" I was like, "It's just normal. It's like farming. It's just."
Well, that's one good thing.
I suppose.
Auctioneers are usually from farming.
Yep,
Yeah,
and that's
so
they're
there's
used
a
to it.
comparison.
It is.
Yeah,
Let's
that's
say
true.
the busiest time your phone will be is night time. Let's say you're home kind of 8-9 o'clock. Phone will start going for a couple of hours of phone. I just come in, just wondering, and what you think trade's going to do? Right. Then you're after a full conversation. Like, I see you anything for this week? No, nothing to go actually for a couple of months. Just thought I'd see what it was doing.
I know that, like, and I'm sure. Now, who does Ayrshire for you? Like, I deal with Peter all the time, but I don't know if he actually covers Ayrshire.
There'll be a mixture. So let's say for sheep, Peter. Young Robbie Hamilton will be down Ayrshire too. Young Robbie too, and then Richard. There's, although everyone covers their areas, there's also some people that they'll maybe have a personal connection with one auctioneer.
Yes.
So although that's not their area, and that's, you've also got to bring that into it and just know your customer base. What customer works well with what auctioneer, or what fields person, because that's another route into auctioneering there. That if you don't want to be an actual auctioneer as such, there's fields person's jobs, and that's basically.
Just explain what that is.
So a fields person is they're out on the road canvassing, they're going into farms, saying, this is what your stock's worth there, and they're getting business for the market, bring them in, then on sale days they're sorting the stock, etc. So basically they're doing everything the auctioneer's doing apart from actually physically standing in the box. And it is because standing in the box isn't for everyone either. It's out there, it's a strange one. Actually been up there selling. It's not for everyone. On a good day it's brilliant. On a bad day it's the worst job in the world too. But it's like any job. No matter what job you get, it's going to be like that.
Yeah, but and another thing I'd love to ask you as well, just like some of the wee tricks you guys do and stuff. Like when the guy comes in, the farmer comes in and he says to you, right, reserve on this, or he said to you before the sale, like, there's a £2,000 reserve on this. Like, I take it you just, like, if somebody's bidding, you just take a fake bid to keep it going because you know either that or he doesn't get it.
You've always got to work to the reserve, and when you know the farmer's not going to sell it at 1,600, there's no point having a bid at 16 when 18 is the next physical one. Same if you go to a car auction or anything else there. Yeah. When you see actually some of the, especially New Zealand type online auctions, and I've noticed what they actually do, they just start the online bidding at the bid below it, and it's so obvious. So it's like, so they could have all their list of animals and first pool say 7,450. Like, what a random, but obviously 7.5's the bid.
Well,
and so they've got all that, and it's just ready for the first bid. So it is.
To me, it's such a time wasting.
It is, but at the same time, auctioneering is also theatrics.
Oh yeah, you can draw the bid out them if you can get them into the.
And
especially you're good at that.
Sometimes you think the bidding's finished, and all the difference. Although you're in big bids, maybe you're in 2 5,000s at this type, and if you think a 2,000 is going to get them back again, I have no fear going back to a 2 or a 1 single, and just get. And it's amazing. You can lift it literally another 5 6 bids.
Yeah,
another 5 6 bids is a lot of money to the seller.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, everyone always think of it. You only ever get one chance to sell someone's stock for them.
Yeah.
So it's always we're there to work for the seller to get the most we can for them. But everyone that's there at the sale, they're all there to buy. Some of them just don't know it. So you've just got to persuade.
Oh, listen, I'm one of those buyers that works on me. Like, if the auctioneer gives me a bit of like chat, like, come on, one more, I'm like, okay.
What you like?
I just like, no way, that's enough. That's too dear. Then, like, oh, come on. I'm like, oh, right, okay. Everyone's looking at me now. Like, you can bully them into it a little bit. But it's one of those things I love. Like, I'm not saying you bully them into them, but you can you can coax them
You
into it
can.
a bit,
Oh,
but
definitely.
they're still their own man or woman.
Oh,
Like they can't say,
there
"You
is.
made me bid that." You've still got to make the bid.
Oh, it's still got to make the bid there. You know,
Yeah.
and it's amazing. Different sales and different crowds can be a different atmosphere. How you draw the bids. You know, for example, like say the Highland Cattle Sale up in Oban. It's completely different from doing even a normal bull sales or from doing even store cattle. When you're up there, it's really because there's a lot of foreign buyers come over, a lot of visitors there, a lot of buyers that aren't maybe working with cattle as their full-time job there. They love the theatrics of it, and
of
you
course,
can get the whole crowd going. I mean, literally, there was one day David Leggett was Claire's contributing, and he must have wrote down the price about 4 or 5 times. I got to the stage, I was like, "Well, you stop writing down the price. I'm not finished."
We're not finished. yes.
But the crowd goes with it too, and it's
And the
just
buyers
about
get that
the
buzz
buyers
too.
get
Yeah,
that
oh, yeah.
buzz, and it
when
is
things go quiet.
Yeah.
You know it's a big one.
That's it, and it's about working the crowd there to get the most out of them. You know, is saying that's the great thing when a sale's going brilliant. You know, when it's got a bounce to it and just flying there. But even you can get a bounce to a store sheep sale or anything, when even the fat lambs, you know, when the whole thing's going and it's just the sale's going smoothly. There's nothing beats it there.
I love the market. I love sales. I love, even as you say, just prime lamb sales. Just everything. Just the community aspect as well.
Yeah.
Like the blethering and just seeing folk, it's just great. And you know, usually get into the canteen. It's like a wee treat, isn't it? You know,
Yeah.
Yeah,
It is.
I know. I feel
because
like
farmers generally don't
get
spend money on
together.
food.
No.
Like it's always pieces at home or lunch or whatever. So it's like, oh, come on, we'll treat you. We'll get a wee fish supper or
Aye.
a steak pie at the market. It's great.
Lizzie is a lucky lady.
A spoiler. Absolutely spoiler. But no, that's fantastic. I had another question in my head there I was going to ask, actually. You got one on, you go on.
Are you just thinking of
No,
one?
I had it when he was there. I thought I don't want to interrupt, but it'll come back to me.
Right, okay. This is actually, timing is excellent. We had a question get sent in for our midweek podcast Q&A, but we're thinking you could maybe answer it. So it's from Tessa, and she wonders what the hammer is that the auctioneer uses, what it is made of.
Oh, well, the hammer or gavel is a lot of folk. It's made of different things.
Okay.
And literally, I'm traditional, mine's just a bit of wood. Literally, I've just got
So do you have your own gavel?
a gavel's a very personal thing.
It's like,
you can't handle someone else's gavel. That's just,
No,
that's a no-go in auctioneering. You get chucked out of Harper Adams for that.
I tell Iona that all the time. But interesting thing a lot of folk won't know about auctioneers is actually the way that the wizards get their wands in Harry Potter is actually based off of how auctioneers actually get their gavel. There's a special little shop they all go to, and they go like, "Oh, you're like a stag antler kind of
stag
man.
antler,
You
yeah.
get, you know, you're just."
Yeah, they're definitely selling furniture if it's the stag antler they've
Some folk
got.
use some folk use the preacher things you get for fish. Does anybody ever use the big heavy things? It's like a big dunt. Some of them are like that.
Well, mine
A big heavy ball on
got
it.
the big, always because
Dramatic effect.
Aye, it is because I used to get in trouble for like nearly knocking everyone out. As I'm kind of, you get into it and you get a wee bit overexcited. Next thing, bang, and
Yeah,
they're
throwing
going,
up.
my ears are buzzing. I was like, sorry, but I can't stop it. I'm just selling.
Yeah, because the adrenaline's going, and
That's
it is like a
like
Boom.
so I've got different. I've got my one. I've got my blackie gavel, and that's only used for blackie sales there. Actually, got given to me by Colin McClyman there at Kilt. So he gave me that first time I was selling Solaire bulls actually for him, and so that I only use that for if I'm selling Solaires or blackies.
Right,
and then
okay.
I've got my other one that's just for every day of the week, and then I've got my bull sales one.
Okay.
So-
And what's the differences in the gavels?
They're all just different weights.
Okay.
And
And just special.
It's just because I'm kind of, well, not superstitious, but kind of superstitious there about, I like
Yeah, I
using
like
my
that.
blackie one because
Yeah.
of where it came from there for the Solaires and the blackies. So that's always worked with that. But I mean, you hear of weird and wonderful things there. Seen some folk with fancy gavels with hazel and then blackie horn at the top. But I'm just like, I'd break that in the first day. I was like, it'd be too good to use. That's for decoration. I did hear of an auctioneer once that actually used a bull's peasel, dried completely. I don't know how it came about.
The whole thing was, it wasn't wrapped. It wasn't like covering a bit of wood. Covering a bit of wood.
It wouldn't be covered in wood, but it was kind of covered in mummified, or I don't know. Never
like
ever
a
found out the full.
taxidermied.
It must have
Love
been.
a bit of taxidermy.
So that was the most weird and wonderful one I ever heard of. There,
Why would it? How would?
well,
just-
You're just thinking about those pieces.
There's a
I was
lot of
wondering
questions
how it
went
would
through
be-
my head.
Yeah.
Hard enough to.
Well, I think everything can get dried
Depends
out
how
to
excited he was.
Aye. Caught in a job, and that was it. That's it.
That looks like a new gavel.
Aye.
The poor guy. That's enough of that. No, interesting. Yeah, no, it's getting what's next for you in the auctioneering world. Where do you want to be? And don't say, I'm so happy where I am. Come on,
I'm
a bit of
not.
ambition.
Wait,
You're young. Where are you going to go?
I want to be
Whose
just
job are
still
you taking?
employed. I want to keep my own job. That's the thing. I just don't want to lose it. That's good.
Just you can't think too far ahead. You just survive.
But basically, I want to just be based on that side. I'm in a very fortunate position that basically the job I'm in was kind of tailor made. As such, I could never have dreamt it. Not only would I be auctioneering, but I'm based on the pedigree side and in the West Coast side where I'm from, and to have that, the two work well in with each other because of the timings. Let's say February time, we've hardly any sales in the West Coast this time of year till later on.
Yeah.
There's August onwards there, so I've got time that I can be doing the pedigree and then doing the West Coast too, in the likes of Oban, Dalmally, round islands, now and again helping out with them. But to be able to tie the two together, it's brilliant, that side of it.
Good on you. And I think we should, we're well over the hour now, so I think we should finish up by just saying, where do you see things heading in terms of, stock prices, cattle, sheep? Where are things heading?
In terms of stock prices, at the moment, things have never been as buoyant in both sheep and cattle. I mean, the confidence that's in it. But one thing that is promising is the fact, because they've been sort of high, the prices, numbers have went back with ewes and cows here, the amount of people calving, lambing there, etc. However, they're seeing this rise in the stores, rise in the fat, and a lot of them are thinking we've maybe let numbers go too far back, and we have had a lot of confidence in the breeding job, especially this last month. January's normally quiet, and folks been saying, actually could do with just upping the numbers a wee bit there, some lamb ewes there. At the end of the day, if you're going out to feed lamb, 400 or 500, what's another 100 doing? There's no point running at minimum stocking density. I don't see, we're not seeing folk going to maximum, but they are certainly upping it there. And likewise with the cows, because it's the same work involved here, and a lot of it, if they get the margins right, it's very similar costs. It's just finding that fine line there.
Yeah, is what we're seeing now in the cattle partly a result of the extreme highs of the cull cows, the cast cows, and folk were, getting rid of a lot of cows?
There's anything that was empty, anything that was out of sync there, and numbers were going down, and people were never replacing them like for like.
Yeah.
The money that was involved in them there. So, but now they're seeing that this has been the norm, this has been a stable there. So they're now thinking, right, we need to just get replacing them again there.
And I have another theory just before we finish, definitely this time. With regards to store lambs, is there more people don't want to lamb sheep and they just want to do the store lamb job? Which is great for the people that do lamb sheep because there's so much competition at these store sales. Like there's so much competition at these store sales now. You've got your big names who we all know. But there's still plenty of other folk round the ring having a go at it, filling a shed and putting a hopper in, and going at it. And there's people putting ewes off and just doing store lambs. Are we seeing a rise in that as a trend?
We are seeing that there, but the danger is at the end of the day, they can only fatten what's born. So you need the producer there lambing the ewes there to get them on the ground. But there is more people, they're not wanting the commitment or to be putting the ewes right through the whole time there, and to be in that cycle, we've got to be doing this. So there is a lot of people that's wanting to, go down just buying the store lambs, finishing them there. And also, but we're also seeing folks that maybe had gotten out of the habit of utilising all the grass constantly or renting out grass, etc. They're going back doing it themselves again.
Okay.
So that's also been a factor.
Yeah. Well, interesting. And we have, in a couple of weeks' time, we have probably one of your biggest clients on the lamb side of things coming in for a podcast. So I'll not spoil the surprise just yet. But yeah, a big store lamb buyer who actually put off the breeding sheep as well. You'll know who I'm talking about. He's going to come in a fortnight, so that'll be a great podcast. We'll ask him those questions then. But anything else from yourself, Iona?
No, I answered all my questions.
Yeah, Raymond, it's been great talking to you. Great just getting a little insight into that auctioneering world and a bit about your life. And you're only 33. We haven't mentioned your age.
Thanks for that. I thought we were getting away with that.
Like you're just a boy.
I like how I don't like how you're still so surprised at this. So this just seems to amaze you that I'm only this.
You're wise beyond your years.
That's what it is.
That's we'll go with that answer.
Love it. Well, thanks very much for coming.
Thanks very much for having me.
Thank you. And we're back.
Job. You're slick.
Thanks.
Seamless. Good interview.
What did you think?
It's just a gem.
Yeah,
he's a
good guy.
Honestly, he's a really, really good guy. So well thought of in the farming community. So passionate.
And do you know what though? I think it just shows. I didn't realise how much time and effort goes into auctioneering. I had no idea. I thought it was all just the time in the box. I didn't realise what goes on behind the scenes and canvassing and the hours that you put into it. But I think that just shows the auctioneers that are out there, it is their passion. They've got that, it's more than just a job.
Oh, absolutely. Like the amount of running about he's doing.
Oh, all over the country.
Yeah. Anyway, that's us for this week. Thanks very much for listening. We'll be back on Thursday with another random bit of chat. We'll see you then. I've been Cammy.
I've been Iona.
And we're both fed by farmers.